This is a speech given by Lubavitcher Rebbe in 1992. This is about 1 month before he had a stroke, which made it impossible for him to speak. He became like half paralyzed. Okay, so the Rebbe says these two Torah portions. Let's put it this way: there's 4 Torah portions that talk about the building of the tabernacle in the desert by the Jewish people. What is it? 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, and 3 weeks ago, there was Truma and Tetzaveh where God commanded Moses to build the tabernacle, and he gave all the details. And then last Shabbat that we just had now, with Purim and everything, that was Parshas Kitisa. That was like a sort of an interruption. That talked about the breaking of the tablets. And these 2 Torah portions that we're in now, Vayakel and Pekude, this is talking about Moses giving over the exact same commandment that God gave to him, giving it over to the Jewish people. So, in other words, this week and next week is basically a repetition of what we learned 2 and 3 weeks ago. Okay. It says, many times, many years, these 2 Torah portions, Vayakel and Pekude, they are joined together. They are joined together. But in this year, and that's how it is also, but yes, this year, they are Vayakel and Pekude, they are separated. This week we read Vayakel, next week we read Pekude. We'll be hearing an explanation in the service of man. What are we supposed to learn from this? Klaus avodas adam, the general service of man, every human being, and especially the Jewish people, is ani nivreti l'shamesh eshkoni. I was created only to serve God. Ulif'ol gam, and also to bring about in the whole world l'shamesh et konam. Everyone in the world should serve the Creator. Ach b'zeh gufa, this itself, there are 2 ways, and they are hinted at the names of this 2 Torah portions, Vayakel and Pekude. Vayakel, this is gathering. Pekude means numbering. Vayakel means shemagala, that you reveal in the world. Et avoda, I call it the general service of everything in the world to serve our Creator. Kona means like our owner. In other words, everything you do from the moment you wake up in the morning until the moment you go to sleep should be, how can I do what's right? Huh? How can I do what's right? How can I say what's right? How can I think what's right? That's what people should be interested in. This implies also something else, that what's really keeping us alive, the reason we're created, the reason why God created people in general and us specifically, is responsibility. Every human being is responsible to do what's right and refrain from what's wrong. What is right and what is wrong? So the Torah comes and tells us, well, the only time that they say manufacturer of the world, God, gave manufacturers instructions was when he talked to the Jews in Mount Sinai. He gave them the Torah. There's no other place that even claims such a thing. No religion, no group. That God himself, the creator of the universe, spoke to millions of people and told them exactly what he wants. That's what it means. Our purpose of all creation is to serve, to do what's true, to do what's right, to serve the creator. By means of this, it brings unity in the whole entire world. Much more so in the Jewish people. And by means of loving Achdus Yisrael, unity. Vayakel stresses everyone is the same. We're all creations. And every single creation, every human being is responsible. That's Vayakel, general, gathering all together We are all one big creation. We are all one big, how do you say, the miracle, the world. And our job is, why we're here every moment, is to do what's true. That's this week's Torah portion. Pekude means after the general service, then you unite all the details. This reveals in every single detail the novelty of Miyuchad be'inyano in it, uprati l'shamesh et kono. Everything, now this Pekude means to count everything, to separate everything, that in fact everything is different. That's the whole novelty of this year, Shana Zu, this year, that we read Vayakel on 1 week, and we read Pekude the next week. Sometimes they read together. This stresses that there is a completion in the service of Vayakel on its own. In other words, a general service of God, everyone together. That's one topic that we're going to complete. And next week we talk about, this week, this reveals the unity in general in the whole creation and in the Jewish people. And therefore, we don't have to wait until we reveal all the details in Parshas Pekude. This is working. 1 second. Let's go back to where we were. Here we go. So we have two ways of serving God, one in a general way and one in a specific way. A general way that everyone in the world is a big miracle and everyone in the world is very precious and everyone in the world is here only to serve the Creator. It's a big gift. We're being given life every second to repay the Creator for creating us for free. He's creating us for free. So that's number one. That's this week. Next week, we learn Parshas Pekude, which talks about that everyone is different and everyone has a different way of serving God and a different aspect. Some people more emotional, some people less, etc. Yesh l'kasher, that this we can explain. Okay, then this week we're talking about unity. We can talk about this idea of unity. Let's connect it to unity. In other words, what's the unity? That we are all creations of God. We can attach this idea of unity with Parshat Shkolim. What's Parshat Shkolim? Parshat Shkolim that we're reading today. Okay, now in the way that there was by us, we read Parshat Shkolim. Was it last week before? Not the Shabbat before Parshat Shkolim. Parshat Shkolim means that the first day of Adar, the Jewish people had to bring what was called a half of a shekel to the tabernacle. They had to bring it. So we read about that. We read about that. It's Parshas Kitisa right in the beginning. We read about that. Okay, it's called Parshas Shkolim. It's the Shabbat before Purim. Okay, this calendar didn't come out exactly the way it was back then, but the message is still here. You do it's known the question. When it says Esrim Gera Shekel, Machzis a Shekel, Truma la Hashem. It says every Jew has to give 1/2 of a shekel. A full shekel is 20 gera, is a shekel, and we have to give only 10. That's what the Torah says. It was in last week's Torah portion also. Every Jew has to bring 1/2 of a shekel. What does the Torah tell us? Esrim, 20 gera is 1 full shekel, and we have to give 1/2. The Chora, at first glance, we should have said that we should give 10 gera. Why does it come to tell you that no, a full shekel is 20, and you have to give 1/2? Say, give 10. Half of 20 is 10. Why do you have to tell it the whole one is 20, and you have to give 1/2 of that? Right? It doesn't say anywhere you have to give 10 gera. It just says you have to give 1/2 of a shekel. A full shekel is 20. And the stress is that you have to give 1/2. Madua, why is the Torah telling us that you have to give 1/2 of 20? The explanation is that 1/2 of a shekel shows on serving God of unity. Therefore, it stresses that when a Jew is found on his own, he's only half. And in order to be a full shekel, you have to unify with other Jews until you unify all of the Jewish people. So everybody on their own is not complete. Giselle, that's the whole idea of doing the commandment of loving your neighbor as yourself. What it means, your neighbor, re'acha, means your friend, means lo rak Yehudi, not just a Jew that's found near to you, but even a Jew that's found on the other side of the world, and even a Jew that doesn't believe like you do. Why? The reason is because it says in the Tanya that every single Jew has a part of God inside of him. Etzem, an essence, when you take a little bit of it, you grab the whole thing. So if every Jew is a little piece of God, it's like a little holy temple. So every Jew is God. If so, all of the Jewish people are really one big existence. And a person, let's say you have the king of the country, right? You grab a hold of the king's toe and you pull him, you got the whole king. You pull the whole thing. The same thing, the Jews that are the greatest, most religious and knowledgeable Jews, they're, let's say, like the head of the Jewish people. And the Jews that don't care anything about Judaism, they're opposite. Let's say they're like the toe. But who would be willing to sacrifice a toe just for no reason, right? The example, of course, breaks down. It's not a good example, but it's just so that Jews are like one big body. Afilu b'mikre, in such a case, yesh l'shlol etzel chavero and bilti ratzui. Even if it means how can you unite with another Jew, it sometimes means that you have to overlook not good things. Hariyatsura hachi ya'ilel, Paul, this, how can you do it? Is mashpi Allah b'darki noam b'darki shalom. You want to, says the Rebbe, this is a general principle in the world. The world is basically good. When God created the world, he created it on the sixth day. It says God saw everything he made, and it was very good. So those people are telling you the reason we're in this world is to go to heaven. This heaven, they're misleading you. It's not so. Heaven is good, but this world is very good. The same thing, every human being. Some people say human beings are sinners, they're all bad, they're this. That's a huge lie. Every human being is made in the image of God. And especially the Jewish people are not only made in the image of God, but they're actually the sons of God. It says, Bani Matem, every single Jew is the son of God. That's even more than in the image. Even more than being in the image. So every single Jew. So therefore, when you look at the world, that it's basically good, and all we have to do is bring out the good. And you look at all mankind, that every mankind is basically good. You just have to bring it out. And when you look at every Jew, that every Jew is basically the son of God, and God is creating us. So therefore, it's easier to overlook the negative things. Because you look and see that's the son of God. What are you talking about? You know who that person is? You know the person is, yes, he's the son of God, but he's a liar, he's a cheater, he's a that. Okay, yeah, those things you have to sort of peel away. Temporarily ignore that. You have to try to find that redeeming factor in him so it's possible to love everybody. And the bad things you have to hate, the bad things about him, but don't hate the person totally. Behold, Kagdama, in order to bring this unity, the Yakel in the world and in the Jewish people. Yesh lahatchil im achdos, first of all, between unity between you and God. Zeu, and this is Gam also Echem Yabirum, one of the explanations. And what it says, 20 gera is a shekel. A shekel, one full shekel is 20 gera. Gera is a unit, a coin. We have to bring a half. Half of a shekel Truma Hashem. Every single Jewish person is united with God. Already, automatically, until they're really one. Every single Jew is only a half. And God, he, so to speak, is the other half. Therefore, Kodesh Baruch Hu, therefore God, when God, who is in the 10, what's called Sfirot, who kamo eser gera, God is only 10 gera. He's only a half. And every single Jew is also the other half. A Jew also has 10 powers of the soul, is also half. But Davka, and only by unifying them, is made 20 gera. That's a shekel kodesh, a beer onion. So to speak, God is missing. God is lacking. Huh? It says that when the Jews are, it says when the Jews are in pain, God is in pain. What does this mean? We're the sons of God, right? We're the sons of God. That's what it says in the Torah. I didn't make it up. It says in the sons of God. So, I mean, a normal father, he needs his children. He needs his children. His children are not expendable. I mean, God forbid you can get along without them. If something, God forbid, happens, the child, you can get along with it. But that's not, a father is not complete. It's like, a person can get along without a leg. You can get along without a leg, right? You can get along without it. But you're not complete. A father can get along without his son. You can get along without his children, but he's not complete. Same thing. That's what's stressed at the Machzeh Shekel. Every Jew is only half. God is the only half. The first thing that a Jew has to do immediately when he wakes up in the morning is say, Moda Ani. God, I surrender myself to you. I am grateful to you. Shazam Mora, this indicates, and he's uniting himself totally with God. The first thing he wakes up in the morning, there's me and there's God, or there's God and there's you. Moda. First of all, I am giving myself over, and then there's Ani, Modan. This is a general service. Kafi Shahu, Lifnei Ulamayla Miprati Avodas the Meshach Hayom. This is the beginning, and the theme for the whole rest of the day. Modani Lefanecha. I don't know if you know this, but if you look in the Jewish Siddur, in the prayer book, the first thing you say in the morning when you wake up in the morning, really you're supposed to wash your hands in the morning. In Chabad, we even put a bowl next to the bed. So you can wash your hands in the morning. But before you wash your hands in the morning, because it's supposed to be impurities on the hands from sleep. Sleep is a little bit of death. So you wash your hands off. But even before you do that, you can say Modeh Ani. This is the first thing in the morning you say, God, I'm yours. God, Modeh, grateful am I. My I is grateful to you. Ali de Avoda, this is the whole, that's Vayakel, general service of God. In the morning, I wake up and I say, God, I'm nothing. Thank you for creating me. That's what it means when it says Modeh Ani Lefanecha. You first of all starting with Modeh. I am grateful, am I, before you. Since that this is every single Jew, and all the Jews are all totally united, Ani Lefanecha, I, before you, with God, Harizeh, Dvar Pashut, so it's obvious. You don't have to stress it. Therefore, it begins and says the fact that Modeh, grateful, surrendered. The Yesh Losif, and then we can add on that immediately when you wake up from your sleep, you should say this. This also includes what the Rambam says, Yesheni behevle olam. He brings the secret of the shofar. He's selling the shofar. He says the shofar wakes up those people who are sleeping in the emptiness of the world. You have to wake up from this also. Not just wake up from your physical sleep, wake up from your spiritual sleep. The beginning of service is that a person should know that he is one with the essence of God, that he is a portion of God from above. Call and all this is especially stressed when you see in the last years how it is excuse me, that we can see the Yakel. The Jews are gathering all over the world and they go to the land of Israel. And this is incomparable to what it was in the previous generations. The Rebbe said this was 30 years ago, that all the rabbis of Chabad didn't go to the land of Israel, even not for a trip. The previous Rebbe did. Even when the previous Rebbe did come to Israel, he was there for 2 weeks. He didn't go to visit Israel, to stay there. He did only to pray at the graves of the holy people there. because they didn't let the previous Rebbe pray at the graves of the Chabad leaders. So he said, I'll go to Israel. I'll pray by Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Especially this year, said the Rebbe, it's a year which is a year of miracles in everything. So what's the teaching? What's the teaching from this? Shkalim. We have to add giving charity. Namely, the charity has many different levels. You can give 1/10. You can give 1/5. You can give everything that you have in order to save your soul. And you should decide on this, also on this Shabbat, and also to begin this, give food and drink, etc., to poor people. There's poor people in Crown Heights. And also in a way of giving, there's a teaching in Parsha Shkalim. You have to give half of a shekel. It should be for the sake of what? What do they give it for in the Holy Temple? For the communal sacrifices, the daily offerings. You do it's known to Admar, the first Rebbe of Chabad. He says, Adam ki yakriv mikem korban lashem. A man, when he sacrifices for you a sacrifice to God, the simple meaning is you have to bring the sacrifice, has to be your animal. It can't be stolen. But if so, it could have said, Adam ki Adam mikem, one of you, when he makes a sacrifice. Why does it say Adam, person, when he sacrifices of you? That in order that a person should yitkarev, sacrifice, also the word for sacrifice means to come close. In order for a person to come close to God, mikem korban lashem, you have to bring from yourself, that you have to give your whole being to your creator. I mean, he creates you. From this, it's understood the teaching from actual deed, that giving charity and acts of kindness has to be in a way that you put into it sincerity, all of the 10 powers of your soul. That in addition to actually doing, you have to think and you have to speak also about this. And by means of this, you speed up the redemption, that it should come immediately. Then he'll do charity with us. And he'll gather all the Jewish people together. If it's Yakel Gadol, it says Kal Gadol Yeshuvahina, there'll be a tremendous unity of all the Jews, and all the Jews will come to the land of Israel. That will only be accomplished by Moshiach. But we see that Moshiach is doing his work. More and more Jews are coming to Israel. And I can give testimony that now Israel is becoming more and more Jewish. It's becoming more and more Jewish. The leaders of Israel who were, famously anti-religious, right? They were blatantly, for unity, and we're not Jews, we are just people, and we are this. That those people they're going away. Their influence is becoming less and less in Israel. They still control the judges and the army and things like that, but it's becoming more and more revealed that these people are really basing their lives on only on themselves. On all this, it's not for the benefit of anyone except for themselves and their own egotistical philosophies that they have. Of just being able to do whatever I want. So Israel is not only, there's more quantity of Jews here, but there's also the quality of Judaism in Israel is changing. We should see it soon, now in our days. God willing, tomorrow we'll meet again. Oh, no, let's do the Yom Yom.